All right, notes for chapter 9. We've talked about ions, so yeah, this is a little bit of a review. When we talk about, so I'm probably going to go pretty quick through this. If you have trouble, we're going over this in class anyways. This is mainly for those of you who are not able to make it. So when we name ions, ions are going to be, we're talking about monoatomic, meaning that they are one type. Polyatomic means that they are multiple types. We'll talk about polyatomic. I'll go over your worksheet with you. So if we look at our ions, we're looking at cations and anions. Cations, of course, are positive because if you lose a negative thing, it is going to be positive. And to remember, I positively hate cats. So that way you can remember cations are positive because if we lose it, which means in groups 1, 2, and 13, they're going to be cations. So for instance, calcium's in group 2. It has 2 valence electrons. So is it more likely to lose 2 or gain 6? It's more likely to lose 2. Remember that rule of 8 will be continuing to work for the ions. Now, anions. Anions, of course, are negative because cations are positive. Anions are going to be our nonmetals that we have. So talking about like fluoride and oxide and nitride or phosphide, all of those, because ide always ends the anions. So as we go along, that's what we're talking about. Ide always makes sure that the ions are done. Going into naming your different ions, transition metals are going to be always cations because metals are going to be your cations. Transition metals can be ions. This charge is determined by the number of lost electrons. Roman numerals will signify this. Many of the cation that are transition metals that we use, I will give you a cheat sheet that will help you with the polyatomic and things like that. That is given to you in class. It is also going to be an online resource for you to have. So Roman numerals, this is the one difference between transition metals and the rest of it. Roman numerals signify the number of lost electrons. So basically, whatever your charge is, whatever the oxidation number is for that particular metal, it will be put in Roman numeral. For instance, if we look at iron, iron 2 loses 2 electrons. Iron 3 loses 3. So however many electrons are lost, or whatever the positive charge is going to be what it's called. Now, there is examples of transition metals being called by their Latin root. You look at iron, ferrous, talking about the smaller charge, and ferric, talking about the larger charge, are going to be those. Now, am I going to tell you to write the Latin root for all of your elements? No, I'm not. So I would not worry about that particular thing. Now, polyatomic ions, we'll talk more about it when we go over the worksheet together. They are composed of one or more element. So most end in ite or ate. So they depends on what they are. The one that has fewer oxygen is ite, and the one that has more oxygen is ate. So most of the time, your particular ones like sulfur, sulfate, will start with 4, and fate is what we talk about. Now, if it's less, it'll be ite. Now, if it has 2 less, it's different, and if it has 1 more, it's different too. So, for instance, if I have per sulfate, that means I would have 5 oxygens, and if I have hyposulfite, that means I have 2 oxygens. Different prefixes and different suffixes signify how many oxygens are going to be in these ions. And that's your review for today. We'll go over the worksheets, and we will go ahead and finish that tomorrow. All right, that's it.